Hey, Thomas from Field Tennis. We are continuing with workouts from home. If you're stuck at home and you cannot play tennis, but you want to do something about your strokes. And today we're doing the biomechanical fundamentals of the one-handed backhand. So again, this video is made of two parts. In the first part you just follow along, and then the explanations and the possible corrections follow later. So that's because that you don't have to waste time next time you watch this video if you want to follow along to make sure you're doing right. You don't have to waste time following my explanations. You just do the first 10-15 minutes and that's it. But the second part is important for the first few times when you're learning these new movements, if they're new to you, to make sure that you're doing them right and that you don't do the most common mistakes. So as with the forehand, we're going to start with the reset exercise that helps you loosen up the body. It goes like this. I learned that from my friend Marino. I'll give you the link in the description to his channel. So it looks a bit silly, but the exercise is very effective. You just jump like this. You shake your body about 30 seconds to 1 minute. You can do little rotations. All right, second one, we're gonna activate the core. Lack of core activation is many times a problem in tennis strokes, so players hit like this and not from the body. So we need to wake up these muscles, we call activation. So let's do one plank variation like this. We're gonna do with little leg lifts. You can do 20 to 30 seconds. If it's too difficult, you can just hold. You can also stay in a push-up position. Do like this. So just to engage your core. You can do also various twists later. Okay, so now, like in the forehand, we're gonna first try to engage also our pelvis region. It's so many times missing in strokes. Before we start from the ground, you will see later why. So I want you to go in a neutral stance backhand, hold the racket here and try to twist your pelvis like this. So you have to release your heel. You can look down for a while to see what's going on, but eventually have your chin up, your head straight, more upright position, and just try to twist here. The reason why we hold the racket here still is that the upper body doesn't go with the lower body, because then you don't feel the isolation of the pelvis. So in a way, when you do like this, you can see that my shoulders move very little and I can try and isolate. So just do this 20 seconds, 30 seconds, that you feel okay, I have something here and I can twist, I can move. We're gonna skip the open stance for now because it's not so common in the open stance, in the one-handed backhand, but you can feel it well when you do the stairs exercise in the next steps. Okay, so let's transition to feeling the ground. So again, we go to the neutral stance. We want to feel the ground, we want to feel good weight transfer. Again, we still hold the racket like this at first. And now you will see why it's important that we activated a bit your core and your pelvis, because it's important that something is happening here, that you do this little move here. If you do weight transfer like this, so observe, you see there's no hip rotation. So we're doing weight transfer, and now we can do shifts. So we shift the foot. Again, you can look down for a while, then look straight. You can even step across this way, this way, this way. The front foot in neutral stance is the adjusting foot, so it adjusts position depending on the ball, that you find the right distance. So These movements are also important to put in your mind, that your mind knows how to adjust to the ball with the foot, that it knows, okay, I can do it here, I don't have to do it like this. After feeling the ground and the weight transfer, it's time to feel the legs and also the pelvis region. So I've recorded that before, and you can click the card above or look for the link in the description where I've shown how you can activate your legs on the stairs. So once you're done with that, you can do for a couple of minutes. We move on to the next exercise. In the next exercise, we're gonna tell our arms a little bit about the movement. We're gonna try and put a little general movement of the arms in space and also try to keep them connected. So we're doing this movement, little number 8s. So try to observe carefully what I'm doing. You can look down again for a while to see what's going on. We're still staying with the weight transfer. My pelvis is still doing something, little twists. And now I'm doing little number 8 here. So you can look down a little bit to see, but eventually try to put yourself in this position, not in this position, this position. When we come here, we don't release the wrist, we just stay with the butt facing forward here, that's it, and we start a new one. So we drive this forward like this. Show from here. All right, next one. The difference between forehand and backhand is that in the forehand we want to feel very strong chest. In the backhand we want to feel a strong back. You can do a few exercises like this. So just hold your fingers and you go. And you try to squeeze your shoulder blades together. When you do this move, you want to feel this straight line from this arm to this arm, so that they're not like this. Like this. So when I do this, I extend, and now I want to squeeze my shoulder blades together. Firm, strong back. Yeah, and squeeze firm. And squeeze firm. Feel the back. Feel the back. Note that when I do that, I still go with my hip forward, but I don't follow with the upper body. So even though my pelvis it's turned, I'm holding the upper body more sideways. This would be following it, this is holding. So this one goes, this one doesn't go. Hold. Hold. So the final part is just to put everything together. If you followed my forehand exercises, you saw that we're doing something for the wrist. We want to have a more loose wrist. I do not recommend that you have a loose wrist and that you try to do something with the wrist on the backhand. I recommend that your wrist is quite firm and we are hitting more with the arm. We're not hitting with the hand or with the wrist. So now we try to put everything together. We do weight transfer. You can start again from the beginning. So we're doing weight transfer. I feel my pelvis before you do the swing, okay? Now feel my back and don't flick the wrist, just hold the racket. At the end, feel your back, firm back, shoulder blades together. You can feel a stretch in your chest. Weight transfer, pelvis, and hold. So here are 10 variations of the core activation exercises. So I'm just showing them for 5 seconds that you have an idea, so that your workouts don't get too boring if you always have to do the same exercise. So I'm giving you a few variations here. So usually when you want to activate your core, you should do
one of these exercises for 20 to 30 seconds. There are of course hundreds of other exercises for core activation, so once you're kind of bored of these ones, feel free to research on the internet anything that activates your core. Any type of crunch or something like that is good, because we want to bring attention to the center of the body so that it's activated and engaged, and then you'll be on the right track.
Alright, so that concludes part 1. In part 2, let's look at the most common mistakes. Some of them I've mentioned already in the forehand video. So let's start with the ground. So when you're doing the weight transfers on the ground, it's the same principle as on the forehand. When you transfer weight on the back foot, we don't actually lean backwards. So I transfer weight on the back foot, but my posture is forward. So it's a bit strange position. Maybe this is strange to you. To me it's normal. To a skilled player it's normal position on the backhand. But maybe you would like to do like this. So we're putting weight on the back foot while we are in a way coiling and leaning forward, because from here I can go. And also lift your toes and press down. Don't put your weight on the front foot and lose balance here. Your weight must stay on the whole foot, equally distributed. So when you transfer weight, for now stay on the ground. There'll be more advanced or high balls. We do go on our toes, but it's important first to have the fundamental. So we lift the toes, we put the weight on the back foot, but posture is forward. So in this position you must feel strong, that you can go forward forcefully. If you're in this position, now I feel weak, I cannot go. See, my leg is shaking. So this is wrong, so I have to be like this. When it comes to hips and pelvis, I've shown a few exercises in the forehand video. So the most common mistake is that there is no pelvis when players hit the backhand. So they go in the backhand and they hit with the upper body, and this part just kind of stays. So they go like this, sideways, and hit. They don't do anything here. So even with these exercises, when you do weight transfers, you must try to go with this back thigh. Maybe you can be aware of that it's moving forward, that it doesn't just, you're not doing this, but this. So the mistake would be that you're hitting a backhand with no pelvis. So yes, if you play mini tennis, or if you just hit the ball gently, then maybe this one is more still. But when you want to hit the backhand, something happens here that creates that torque, that twists, that then travels through your body and helps you shoot out your backhand. So pay attention to this, that you don't do like this, just back and forth. When it comes to arm swings, if you just follow the exercise how I show it, so I show it first like this, we're doing like this or like this, you can see there's space between the racket and my body, or my hands and my body. So one common mistake that players do is they go like this. So now there's no space. So if there's no space to swing around, to get some acceleration, some momentums. So it's not back forward, which means you have no space, but it's here. So just follow the exercises, how they're shown, and you will be learning the correct technique, not only biomechanics, but the technique. So here you can hold here, or you can hold here, and you feel this space here. This allows you to loop around a bit. The next mistake, common mistake when it comes to arms and especially wrists, is that you are too wristy on the backhand. So you try to do something like this. So backhand is not played like that. It's more just whole arm. There's an illusion of the wrist because we go in this position, and you might say, well, you dropped your wrist, but I didn't, because I just turned my forearm. See, this is forearm position. So when I tilt my body like this, see, my shoulders tilted, so the racket tilts. So there is no movement in the wrist, everything is still firm. So when you see this position, you can misinterpret that I drop the wrist. So this is dropping the wrist independently of my forearm. So I'm dropping my wrist, I'm loosening it up, so now it loses stability. So now it's flailing around. So you will not have a consistent backhand by suddenly loosening up your wrist and dropping your wrist. So it's an illusion. So this looks like a dropped wrist, but it's not. It's a tilted forearm. So I'm tilting my forearm. So that's why the racket head drops, but I'm not dropping my wrist. If you tell the player to drop the wrist, they're going to loosen up the wrist, they're going to go like this. So that's not good. We need to have stable racket, and yet we still get under the ball. So the way we get under the ball is, you see the arm, this is wrist, it's very difficult actually. This is wrist without forearm, just a little bit loosening up the wrist. This is wrist, and this is together. So wrist and forearm relation are the same. So I come to the ball, I get under the ball with this forearm and my tilt of the body. If I stay like this, then you have to drop the wrist, and now it's wrong. So the way we get under the ball is we drop the shoulder, we lift the shoulder, we get under the ball, and the wrist is firm, and now we hit. So we hit like this. So that's how we get under the ball, and we can apply topspin, but we don't apply topspin with the wrist like in table tennis, or even with the forehand. We can apply topspin like this, but on the backhand we don't apply topspin like this, only in extreme situations. On the basic backhand there is no wrist, it's just arm that swings in an upward motion and applies topspin to the ball. So this concludes the one-handed backhand workout at home that you can do every time you're unable to play and you want to work on your stroke, on the fundamentals of your stroke. If I missed something and I didn't explain, just ask me in the comments below and I will do my best to answer. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.